Well, good night, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Swerve with Me. This is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences only. I'm Miranda Innes, and as always, it is always a pleasure to be on board and to have you to join in. So, you know what it is. I'm a little early, but as we come in, I want you to want you to share, let everybody know that we're back live tonight. Hope that you guys had a very, very comfortable day considering all the heat. So I hope you were at least comfortable. And if you went to church, hope you had a wonderful time in the presence of the Lord and just getting your mind in gear for the coming week. As you come in, please like and share. We have another awesome show. All of our shows, we talk to overcomers. And that's why I love doing this show, because each week we get to share powerful stories, different stories from different perspectives, but all powerful, about people who have overcome their challenges and now they're in a place within their lives that they're willing and able to share their stories so that others could be encouraged who may be going through, and others can be blessed and helped and supported in whatever ways that they possibly can. So tonight is definitely no exception. I want to say thank you in advance for all of you who have registered rather for my masterclass, tackling limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. We open tomorrow night, June 28th at 8 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you in advance to those who will actually show up, because we know people register for stuff sometimes, but they don't show up. So in advance, thank you for those who will show up. We're going to be on every single night. I have so much to share, so much information to impact, and my whole goal is to cause people to move from potential to purpose. That's why I do what I do, so that you have that opportunity to be transformed. We know transformation is an inner work, and that's what I do as a life transformation strategist. And so I am excited. I am prepared. I am ready to hang out with you every single night this coming week, Monday through Friday. So those of you, like they say in the church, who know the virtue of prayer, pray for me, because I'm doing it every single night next week. So thanks again for all of you who have registered. Another housekeeping note: if you haven't already joined my Swerve Facebook group, it's a private group, and you've registered. If you haven't already joined, make sure you're in the group, because that's where the masterclass is taking place. So if you're not in the group, get in, check your notifications. You probably have an invitation, or just type in the search Swerve 6 steps to create the life you want, and come on in the group. We would be more than happy to have you. Good night, Newton. Good night, Loretta. Good night, Monique. So good to have you tonight. I'm excited as always about tonight's show, because I have another overcomer with me, a woman who has lived and experienced rather, limiting beliefs and the impact that it can have on your life, but a woman who's also an overcomer. And she has managed to push past those things that try to keep her captive. And now she's in a space where she's empowering women so that they can find their authentic self. And I just love that. And so I want to introduce to you tonight, welcome to this platform, Duquesa Dean. Duquesa, it's so very good to have you with me tonight and to see your beautiful face. So, we always start from the beginning, because I believe it's the genesis of a thing.
Yeah.
The genesis that we get the revelation of who this person really is. So, for those of persons who will be watching and they're not familiar with you or the work that they do, tell us, who is Duquesa Dean?
Well, Miranda, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to share with you and to share with your listening and viewing audience tonight. Who am I? And what a powerful question. For the last year, I've been proclaiming that I am. That's it. I am.
Mm-hmm.
I have evolved into a woman who is passionate about supporting other women and being a guiding light for women, bringing them from the darkness into the light. I empower women to embrace their dreams, their passions, and their goals, and to do so by creating a life plan that they can execute. I empower them to recondition their minds from what society, family has, or their peers have influenced them to be or to become, and to instead have the courage to step into the life that they've always wanted to dream, always wanted to do. So that's a bit of what I do. I work with young people by way of my youth organization, Transition Mentorship Program. I run the Power of Her, an organization for women. It's an annual event we host every year. I am a corporate trainer, working here in corporate Bahamas with specialization in customer service and leadership. I'm the president of a cancer support group. My mom passed away in 2017 from cancer, and I've stepped in to fill her shoes as president of that group. I am an author of 4 books and the publisher of a magazine.
So she's loaded, y'all. So here we go: speaker, trainer, author,
So,
coach.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she's loaded, and I am. But Duquesa, you weren't always so self
Wow.
assured. You weren't
No,
always certain of who you were. So let's start with, where were you born and raised, and what were the conditions under which you were born?
absolutely. I was born here in Nassau, Bahamas, almost 50 years ago. I don't look it. But almost 50 years ago, I was born right here in Nassau, Bahamas, to a teenage mom. My mom was 16 when she had me. And as you can imagine, back in the day, almost 50 years ago, that was such a taboo situation, not as welcome and accepting as people are with it today. And so, growing up, my mom had a huge adjustment in a society that had teenage mothers somewhat as a plague, right? So I was born, and my mom was enthralled with me as a baby. She had my name. I think one of my aunts named me Duquesa, but my mom actually had my great grandmother be my primary nurturer. So from a very little girl, a mother was my primary nurturer. I was fortunate to live in a house with 3 generations. It was my mom, my grandmother, and my great grandmother. But my great grandmother was my primary nurturer. And so from age 0 to 13, mother affirmed me, validated me, she walked me to school. We walked to school hand in hand. She'd be at the gate waiting for me when school was over. And I remember vividly, Miranda, at the age of 8, I used to sneak outside the back of the home, sitting on the back stairs, and I would be looking up at the stars. At 8, I was so confident and happy and so sure of what I wanted to do when I grow up. I used to look up and see the stars moving in the sky, and I'd make a wish on anything that was moving in the sky. It could have been a plane, a satellite, it could have been just a falling star. I didn't care what it was. Once it was moving, I was making a wish.
Mhm.
And so at 8, I was happy, I was fulfilled, my self esteem was starting to be nurtured, and I felt really loved, even though my primary nurturer was my great grandmother. My mom went out to get jobs to take care of me. She was no longer accepted in high school because back in the day, you couldn't go back to school once you
There
had a
was no
child.
case. There
No,
was no
no,
case.
no, there was no support, outside of your family for teenage parents. And so at the age of 13 was actually when I found my world crumbling. My great grandmother, she passed away.
Mhm.
And with her passing, went all of the affirmation, the self esteem building, the validation. It all went with her. And I don't know if adults can.
I just want to pause right there, because I'm gonna interject to
Yeah,
ask questions. But good night, Treese. Good night, Irma. Good night, Joba. Good to have you with us. So at 13, when you're just coming into adolescence, I guess,
yeah,
in a way, getting to know yourself, that teen just entering teenagers, for that trauma to occur, the person that was nurturing and affirming you for all of those years, when she died, when she left, what did that feel like for you? Because I like to explore the state of mind and stuff when trauma happens to a person. What were you thinking at 13?
I was lost. I mean, I understood the concept of life and death, but I didn't really understand the impact she would, her not being there would have. And so after her death, I felt isolated. I was lonely. Even though it was a busy home, I was lonely. I felt that I was seen, but not really seen. Um, I felt neglected, even though my basic needs were met. Like I had food, I had shelter, but I still felt that my inner person was neglected. My family, old school parents were never really affectionate, and they grew up in a different time where basic needs being met was a demonstration of love versus
Absolutely.
all of that touchy feely. And so I felt so alone.
Who filled the gap when she left?
Nobody.
Were you
Nobody really.
did nobody fill it, or you couldn't see that they were filling it because
Well,
of
I
your
can tell
grief?
you what I saw.
Okay.
I saw where um, people picked up and I was fed. I saw where people picked up and I could get to and from school. Like the activity of the continuation of life. I did see that from my family members. I don't feel I didn't feel abandoned. No, I didn't feel abandoned. They were there to really, like I said, do the traditional, regular, cook the food, feed you, get you to school, buy your clothes, like that sort of stuff. But I
Hmm.
yearned for more
Right.
because mother had given me, they used to call me mother's favorite. And so, she would embrace me. I would sleep with her. And so that void, all of that, like that part of it wasn't filled.
And as a result of not feeling nurtured, because that's really what it was, and feeling protected, feeling safe, what did that lead you to do? Or did you
Oh, Lord.
seek that feeling
I
from
did.
other people
I
outside of your home?
absolutely did. It wasn't immediately. It
Hmm.
was not in my 13th year.
Sure.
Um, I really didn't have time to properly recover from my great grandmother's death because shortly thereafter, I was placed in another situation with my mom being married and having to deal with now a stepfather and being in an environment where my stepfather very clearly said to me in his exact words that my mom would be his wife and I would be his sweetheart. And so I went from I went from the trauma of losing my great grandmother into another environment where I knew that I needed to protect myself and to be on guard because this man openly declared what his intent was.
Did
And at
you did
13
you have the
years,
courage? Sorry, did you have the courage at that time to say to your mother what he had said
no,
to you?
I didn't.
You didn't have the
I
courage.
didn't because at 13, I thought more about the fact that my mom was happy. She looked happy. She was going out with this guy. This guy married her. She wanted to get married. She was looking for this love, and he gave it to her. And so I never thought that, even though he said that, I
Hmm.
never thought that he would actually action that.
Hmm.
Right. So no, I didn't say anything to my mom, but it just so happened that very quickly after, within maybe 3 weeks of the actual marriage and me moving out of our family home and into my mom's place, my stepfather did make an attempt to touch my most precious assets.
Hmm.
And I vividly remember that Saturday morning, my mom had traveled the Friday before. She left my brother and I in the home with my stepfather, and I remember that Saturday morning, he came in the room that my brother and I shared, and he was physically disabled, but he was very strong in his upper body. And I remember him trying to hold me down and feel my breast, and my brother and I fought him off. I was able to leave the house and walk down to my grandmother's house, and at our family's home, where I told my grandmother that this is something that happened. This happened to me, and I was really petrified.
Yeah.
So I went from losing my great grandmother to now having to face a man that should have been in love with my mom and should have had the responsibility for nurturing me, to actually having to fight him off because he wanted to take advantage of an innocent child. So I
Mhm.
never really got to mourn. And then with that situation now with my grandmother, who, when my mom returns, says that, hey, this happened. And, my mom confronted him, and his response was that I asked him to touch me. And so, even with, if a 13-year-old says, hey, touch me, like as a grown man, why would you,
Yeah.
but at least my brother was there to validate what had actually happened.
Mhm.
And I'm reluctant to say that my mom did stay with my stepfather for quite some years after, but it's the truth.
But how did that make you feel at the time that
Listen to me. That
she
destroyed me.
didn't believe you, but your grandmother obviously believed
Yes,
you?
my grandmother believed
Right.
me, and that destroyed me to think that I felt like she chose him.
Mhm.
That's how I felt. I felt like she chose him, not, years later, I spoke to her, and we had a conversation surrounding her choices. But I really, in that moment, felt unwanted and abandoned in that moment. That's how I felt because mother is gone. You have the opportunity now to be a mom to me, and you chose this dude who was inappropriate in his actions toward a young woman.
Mhm.
When my mom and I had the opportunity, and if it's okay for me to share that now, to have a conversation about why she made that choice.
Okay.
um, she shared with me that after being a teenage mom and being, cast out by society for a very long time, she searched for love. She searched for validation. Her self esteem was not intact. She wanted somebody to accept her, to love her, to marry her, to be with her. And so she had many boyfriends up to the point that she met him. But he proposed, and she wanted that. She wanted that experience.
Mhm.
She apologized for making a bad decision and
Mhm.
putting her needs for love and her need for validation in front of protecting me. And you know what? That's not an isolated case in my
Not at all.
instance. It happens a lot in society where parents choose their love life, women choose their men, their boyfriends, their husbands over their
Mhm.
children because inside of them there's something that they desire. There's some healing that needs to happen in order for them to feel okay being alone single and
Mhm.
embrace the opportunity to nurture their kids. We look at fairy tales, and society pushes us to get into relationships, get married, have children. And so there's a lot of conforming to society and the pressure of society, because if you aren't married by a certain age, if you don't have kids by a certain age, it's just pressure all around. And so I
Mhm.
forgave my mom because I understood. Because at the time we had the conversation, I was an adult and I had already gone through some of that same thing, the yearning and the wanting for someone to
Mhm.
see me, to love me, to accept me. And so I forgave her for making what she thought was the best decision for her, but it really wasn't the best decision for me.
At the time. So you then, after that incident happened, you stayed with your grandmother.
Yes.
And that's where you lived. So what was life like with your grandmother?
But with my grandmother, I'll tell you this, I ate good. My grandmother was an amazing cook. And so, the family, we have a close family. I tell you, it's a large family. And I came to the place of understanding that needs met was equated to this is
Love.
how I show you I love you.
Mhm.
So as it relates to hugs and kisses and embraces and that sort of stuff, no, I miss that. I long for that. But I did enjoy the companionship of other siblings because I have an aunt who's 3 years younger than I.
Mm.
I had a lot of cousins, so the home is always busy. In that home, I learned about service, about community, about giving. I learned a lot of lessons about life. What I didn't receive in the home, though, was the building of the self esteem, the building of self value, the building of, growing into a woman who could be and do anything. As a matter of fact, I can't tell you exactly who it was that spoke these negative words over my life, but I remember being told that I would never amount to anything. And usually, when I share that, I hear other young ladies and other women say that they were told the exact same thing. And the reality is, Miranda, we make mistakes in life, but those mistakes don't mean that our destiny and our future can't be great.
Absolutely.
And so for a while, I did truly live up to those words that I'd never amount to anything, that my life wouldn't have value. I wouldn't be able to get a good man, because I really acted out. I acted out from 13 to 18. I really wanted attention at home. I didn't get the kind of attention that I wanted, even though they provided. Even though I never went without. I never went
Mhm.
without anything, just that show of love
The
and the
nurturing.
attention, the nurturing. Yes,
So
I miss
let's
that.
talk about those teen years, because those teen years were what I want to call the impetus to
Yes.
who you are today. So let's talk about the teen years and being with your grandmother and not feeling the nurturing that you were accustomed to. It's a difference if you don't know, you never had it. That's a different story. But I can't imagine what it was like to lose what you had at such a young age and something that you cherish so much. So between 13 to 18, what was high school like?
Oh Lord. So I had, like, my mom continued paying for me to attend private school, even though I lived with my grandmother. And one of my uncles, actually my eldest uncle, made sure that my school fees were also paid, so I was able to get a good education.
Hmm.
Um, um, However, my school years were difficult because it was at school that I kind of acted out. Sometimes I was rebellious. Not only was I rebellious at school, and thank God that I have the ability to retain knowledge because I never really studied, so I still managed to make good grades.
Hmm.
I didn't have a lot of good friends in school. I Coca-Cola shaped, brown skin, mango skin, curly hair girl, had the
Hmm.
attention of the boys. I was called a babbit. I was labeled as a slut, even though I was very much a virgin at the time. There were times in school when the girls were really, really cruel. And to be honest with you, Miranda, the guys were a bit more open and friendly, and they gave me attention.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if because I hung more with the guys or whatever, they thought that I did things that I didn't really do. And they just were not nice. And so school was also difficult. I did end up having maybe one or two friendships, but I have no lasting friendships from high school. None of them.
That's
No,
interesting because those teen years are the years when you bond and you get into cliques
no,
and you do things with a pair and you go to
no,
parties together or
no.
sneak out together or
Now, the
whatever,
thing
those
is,
kind of things.
I wasn't allowed a social life. My home life was strict. I was allowed to go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, visitation on Saturday. So church became my outing. But as it relates to high school parties, as it relates to sleepovers, those types of things that build the social aspect of a person, I was not allowed to go to those things. My grandmother was very protective. She was extremely protective, and she wasn't fond of sleepovers either. And so I didn't have the opportunity to create bonds that way.
Hmm.
And then a part of that is also that I spent 2 years at one private high school, and then I moved my first 2 years at one private high school, and then I moved to another private high school. And the
Hmm.
relationships from seventh and eighth grade just didn't carry over to the new school.
Okay.
And so while I see them, while I know them, while I talk about them, there are none of them from any of those high schools that I can say are my best friends or my close knit friends. I didn't develop close friends until my life crashed and
Hmm.
I took the time to rebuild my life. So it wasn't after I rebuilt my life that I was then able to build quality friendships. And today I have a circle of five or six amazing women, and they're my sisters now. But
Hmm.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that
You're not.
back in the day, right?
You made a decision that was absolutely mind blowing to me as a teenager. A random decision that actually was life altering, life
Yeah.
changing. So let's talk about that decision that you made as a teen at 17 that you
No,
just
I was
decided
younger than that.
it
Is this
was
a
oh you
traveling one? Is this a traveling one?
oh right. So
Yes,
okay, yeah.
I
So
was much younger than that.
at
Yes, I think I
14,
was 14.
at 14, yeah, let's talk about
14
that.
or 15, I remember I had some classmates who were from Andres, and their bigger brothers were pilots. And so one day, I was at home, I was unhappy. One of the brothers talked about the fact that his older brother was flying to Andres the next day. My godmother lived in Andres. I was like, you know what? I'm unhappy. So I told him, listen, I go into the chicken shack. It was right down the road.
Hmm.
And girl, your girl was on that flight to Andres. I had hopped on the plane, went to Andres where I was with my godmother who received me. I called her when I arrived. She didn't even know I was coming.
Hmm.
And she alerted my family that I was in Andres. I did get a good cut hip, but
Hmm.
I enjoyed the weekend in Andres with her. And I came and then I was returned home.
And you came home.
Yes, I came home.
Why do you know why you were so unhappy at the time? Did you do it now?
I just didn't feel love.
Okay.
Right. As an adult now, I can look back at my life and see how my family loved me by their provision and for being there and for standing with me. But being 13 and 14, there's no way of understanding the lack of affection, the lack of support, the lack of hugs, just those nurturing, it just wasn't there. I saw it in my friends. I mean, in school, girls, I would hear them talk about their dads. I'd see their dads come to pick them up. I didn't meet my dad until I was 13. And I want to tell you the story about meeting my dad. My mom and I were in the car, and I remember she pulled in this parking lot and she called this guy over. He came over, they had an exchange. And after the exchange, she pulled off. She said, oh, by the way, that's your dad. And I was like, what? So I was 13 when I met my dad. And I saw other people, other young people, their moms picking them up, their dads, the girls talking about what they did with their dads, the affection, the nurturing. And I wanted that. I really wanted that. I didn't have sister relationships, even though, I had cousins. We weren't in the same age range. I did have an aunt who was like 3 years younger than mine, but there were
Hmm.
never those bonds, like those sister bonds that I witnessed at school where the sisters would be so close together, they'd be giggling and talking. I longed for that, and I just didn't
So
have
let's
it.
talk about this. Did you this encounter? Because I don't know if that was a meeting with your dad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was, but but eventually, I'm sure as you got older, did you have the opportunity to develop a relationship
Oh,
with him?
absolutely. My dad is my greatest cheerleader today.
Awesome, awesome.
He has actually been listen, a solid rock in my development.
Hmm.
Um, we began dialogue after that day of me
Okay.
meeting him at 13. I remember I lived with him for a couple of months, him and his wife, and that's when I met my sisters and brothers because, his wife had some kids. And my sister and I developed a great relationship, but I'm like maybe like 10 years older than her or something like that. And so, yes, we have developed an amazing relationship. My very first entrepreneurial opportunity my dad gave to me. When I was let go from a job because a job closed, my dad employed me. Every year we'd go out for my birthday and we'd talk about my plans for that year. He'd guide me through those plans. His wisdom.
Hmm.
He is just loving and understanding. Is again another conversation I had to have as a part of my healing. Because why did you elect not to be in my life? Why didn't I meet you until I was so much older? And you know, Miranda, the reality is parents play such games with children's lives when they are no longer involved with the man, whether that be a boyfriend, a husband, or whatever. Children are used as pawns. And unfortunately, in this situation, my mom kept me away from my father for quite some time based on him not standing with her at the time that they discovered she was pregnant. He left her alone to go through all of that. She had some animosity, obviously, that she had to deal with and come through and mature through. You know, and he didn't have the opportunity um, to be who we wanted to be. When I
Okay.
talk to my mom and I talk to my dad about my conception, I get two different stories. And so I choose to exist in the middle of those stories and just be grateful that I'm here. It doesn't matter. He say, she say, it doesn't matter.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I do know that even in today's society, children are used as pawns. You know, women hold children away from their fathers. Fathers decide not to take care of their kids if the them and the mom aren't together anymore. So my case is not isolated, and I
Mhm.
do wish that we could do more to be more mature and to
Yeah.
put the needs of the children ahead of our own personal gripes
Was
with
he
our exes.
was he a teenager as well?
He was. He
Okay.
was. He was
Yeah.
just slightly older than her. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
Mhm.
that those types of scenarios are certainly not, misdemeanors or misnomers or anything. They're
Yeah.
absolutely so very, very common.
Yeah.
Kids raising kids, trying to raise kids themselves are not grown. So yeah, that is certainly nothing new. Um, the next life changing. This is the life changing, altering event that I was really referring to. Took place when you were 17.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's
Well,
talk about that because it amazed me that with someone who the motivation behind what you did. So let's talk about that. Yeah.
I must have been crazy. That's all I could say. Right. But I remember at 17, I said to myself, I said, you know what? They didn't do it right. So I'm going to show them. I'm going to have a baby and I'm going to show them what you're supposed to do with a baby. I'm going to have a baby and I'm going to show them what it means to be a good mom. Well, did I set myself up? Because surely the next year at 18, I mean, 18 and a half, I gave birth to an 8 pound, 8 pounds, 4 ounces bundle of joy. And she changed my world.
Mhm.
It was not as easy as I thought it would be. As a matter of fact, I was clueless because not having
Absolutely.
the example that I wanted, like I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know like what I really wanted.
Mhm.
So I put myself in this situation with this baby and I struggled for quite some time with her. And I'm so grateful that my family, they didn't leave me to suffer. They jumped in and some of my aunts really helped me. My grandmother, you know, she took over with some of the feeding and the babysitting and all that sort of stuff. So the responsibility for a child, that is so major. That child depends on you for everything. From the moment they're born, your breasts belong to them because that's how they eat. Your whole life belongs to them. They cry, they have to eat, you have to feed them, you have to bathe them. As they grow, they want more and more, and they demand more and more of your time. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't.
Do you feel like you were treated the same way your mother was treated
No.
when she had you? So it was different. People were more
Yeah.
embracing. And okay.
Yeah, at that time, I'd already finished school and high school, that is. And there was more of an acceptance towards unwed births,
Okay.
right? The world had started to change. And there was more of an acceptance towards people having kids out of wedlock. And even though I was a teen, I was technically an adult. My 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 mother, even though we weren't living together, was disappointed that I had had a baby so soon because she felt as if it would put my life on hold. And for a while it did. I had to put aside the things that I had wanted to do to put this child ahead of my needs.
Okay,
But
don't go ahead. So, what were those? What were some of the things that you had to put on hold at that time to ensure that your daughter was properly raised?
well, I was in the college of the Bahamas, and I didn't go back after that summer. I had her in August. I didn't go back the September after. It was my first year. I completed the first year, and so I had to put that on hold. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see more of the world. I wanted to focus on building a career, but I was young, naive, and I'm even going to go so far as to say stupid because I wanted to prove things to people at that particular point in time as well. And so my desire to prove people wrong superseded the things that I wanted to do because I had this baby, not really understanding the impact that it would have on the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so you managed, with the help of your family, to raise your daughter. Were you dating at the time as well?
Yes, her father and I were together through the pregnancy, through maybe the first 6 months, maybe the first 6 months, yes. And then we broke up. And so I was alone after that. And when I say alone, I just mean physically alone to take care of her because he has always been a provider. There's never been, my daughter can never say that her father has not provided for her, taken care of her needs. He paid her school fees straight from preschool through university.
Hmm.
Um, and so he's always been a provider. So I wasn't alone to take care of her financially, but as it relates to physically, his way of showing love was to provide. He'd come and he'd take her for a weekend sometimes. He'd hang out with her with his mom, that sort of stuff. But the brunt of caring for her really fell on me, as it should, as her mother. So we didn't have shared responsibility. We weren't married. We weren't living in the same home.
Hmm.
But we were in a relationship up to about 6 months after.
So, as you're learning how to raise this girl, as the days and months and years progressed, did you see yourself in her, and what were your thoughts about who you wanted this person that you're responsible for to be? And I'm talking about at that point. Did you even think about things like
No,
that?
no, I
Okay.
did not until I was older.
Okay.
I was in survival mode after having her. It was about managing to get enough sleep, managing to pump breast milk, managing to feed her, going to work, coming home, having to deal with her, even though my family was very supportive and they helped, the bulk of it was still mine. And so I was in a management role of just getting by every day with this responsibility of bathing, cleaning. And so I didn't go to a place of, how do I want to nurture? Who do I want her to become? How do I
Hmm.
sustain her? I didn't go there. I just was in this robotic state of I have a child, I have to provide. I have a child, I have to do this, I have to do that. So it wasn't until later in life when I got to that ultimate place of healing that I was then able to say, I don't want her to have certain experiences.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
so Marcia Williams rather says, I know what you're talking about. Children are a blessing, but they truly cause you to have to put your ambitions on hold.
they
So
do.
somebody out there can relate to that. So
Yeah,
as you're in survival mode and you're working and you're no doubt trying to figure out who you are because you're still a young woman, you're at 20
yes,
something now raising this girl. So
yes.
um are you
Ooh,
dating, or are you just
listen,
primarily just focused on her?
no, I
Because
was dating
when do you
after.
introduce a man into this equation now that you're raising a girl? That's one. And were you skeptical about doing that?
No, I was crazy. I I was, I was, you know what? And I'm telling you, the pressure of society, right? So here I am, a single mom with a daughter. I meet a guy, and my mind immediately goes to I have to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you already have one child, you're a single mom. It's already a taboo because this is the Bahamas is a Christian nation. And so you already have this one stain on you. And so the unconscious or the subconscious pressures of society have now kicked in, even though I'm just 20, right? And I'm like, girl, you got to get married. You got to show them you can land this good man. Because remember, they tell me I wasn't never going to get this good man. And
Mm-hmm.
so this year, I gone on to the next I could prove situation. I done mess up the first one. And I gone on to let me prove to them that I can get this guy and I can get married. So I was dating this guy. We dated for about a year and then we got married.
So,
And
how
so
old were you when you got married?
I got married at 21 and a half, I think. Yeah,
Very
I was
young, still
young.
very,
Yeah,
very young.
I was
So now
young.
you have to deal with trying to be a wife and a
A
mother,
mom.
a working mother, or were you stay at
Oh,
home?
no, I was stay at home, but not by choice. All right.
Okay.
Um, and so, and you know what? I had to deal with being a mom and being a wife and not really understanding how to perform either of those roles. That's just the honest truth.
Right.
I didn't know that this man would want me to have to clean and cook cook every other day or cook every day. And I hope it isn't taboo to say he gonna have sex on a regular basis. I wasn't prepared. I was like, girl, how you get here? All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to cook because I wasn't taught. I wasn't interested. I was being rebellious in my teens. And so like just the marriage itself was like a wake-up call, girl. This is not just about the wedding. We get so confused and think that the marriage is the wedding and we get to have all these people come and we dress up in our
Right.
gown and we take pictures, but that's just one day. Like
Mm-hmm.
the marriage begins after that, and I wasn't completely prepared, nor did I want all of those responsibilities that
Mm-hmm.
a wife was required to at that time.
Right. So
Um,
how did you navigate through that? Because you don't know, you wasn't prepared. And let's talk about the fact that introduce now that I asked if you were working and you said not by choice. So that
yeah,
means you were kept in isolation. So who did you have to learn anything from, and what did your life look like? The fact
Lord,
that you were kept in isolation. Let's talk
pure
about
depression, pure depression. But it didn't start out that way. It started out as every other normal relationship. I We got married, and a few days after getting married, I met a new person. What's that? I met a new person, someone unexpected and someone that I'd never seen before. And
so
I don't,
slow down, don't go too fast. So you're saying you married, the courtship, the dating period was just a wonderful thing, like what, the Prince Charming riding in on the
yes,
horse and all that kind of stuff, and you marry, and in your mind this person changes, and so who's this person?
yes.
So he goes from Prince Charming to what, the Grinch?
No, he
What?
didn't go. Listen to me. My ex-husband is an amazing man. I want to say that first. And I also I want to share that he is a transformed man. He is preaching the word of God. He's living a totally transformed life. He is married to an amazing woman. They have some amazing children. His
Mhm,
life is completely different through the grace of God and through his own transformation. I want to say that first, right?
mhm.
Then I want to share that my ex husband was charming. He was personable, charming. He was just smooth. He was loving. He was soft, and he was
So
everything I
everything
thought
that
that I
you were
wanted.
looking
Yes,
for
he
at that
was.
time. Mhm.
Yes, he was. And then one day I pissed him off. We were living together. We were married, and I pissed him off, and I met the altar. I met the abusive person. I met the person that would hit me. I got accustomed to every Sunday getting beaten. he'd go to the tracks. He had a motorbike and he'd hop on that, go hang out with his boys. And every Sunday religiously, I remember, getting beating. I remember one Sunday, I'll never forget this memory. He came home from the tracks and he was like, "Hey, can you warm me some food?" And I was like, "Sure." Just trying to be calm and passive so I don't flare him. Went in the kitchen, warmed the food, looking for him all through the house. I couldn't find him and eventually found him outside asleep on the porch. And me saying, "Well, you don't sleep outside." I wake him up and it's like, "Hey, your food ready, you outside." And what I wake him up for, I literally got, because that
Wow.
was perhaps one of the worst domestic exchanges that he and I had. Like I got the beating of my life on
So,
that
so when
particular
you say
occasion.
beating, you mean you got slapped,
Yeah, I got
punched?
slapped, I got pushed, I got punched, those sorts
Wow.
of things. My ex-husband is quiet, very, very quiet, but in anger, he can become someone else. Well, when we were together, because he's, like I said, he's a different person now. And I was ashamed. I kept that a secret for many years. I
Like
didn't,
how many years?
maybe three, I think maybe 3 years. Um, I did tell, I did the very first, I left 3 times.
Hmm.
The first time I left, I went home. I said to my mom, his mom, "Hey, this is what's happening." They were like, "Marriage is honorable, pray, go to counseling, that sort of stuff." So, okay. I went back, we prayed, we went to counseling. Okay, good, fine. The next time I left, my dad and I had a conversation. My dad said, "Listen, it's because you have a car." he
What?
said, he said, families that have one car typically don't have these type of problems. I said, this man is insane. He said, go back to council and try work this out. I went back, Miranda. The third time I left, I left under much more of a duress situation. Um, I it was he had put on a cami jacket, and it was a signal to me that he was going to get his gun. Whenever he put that cami jacket on, he's going to get his gun. And that day, he locked us in the house because I didn't have a key. And when he left, I said to myself, I said, "Girl, you better get out here because this man is going to kill you." At this Up to this point, I had already woken up with a gun in my mouth. I had already had a crossbow and arrow in my chest. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'd just gone through, you name it. And so when he left, I was like, "You have to get out here." And it was back in the day when we had those screw out windows, and I remember taking the screen out the window and
Hmm.
screwing that window as wide as I could get that, and taking my 6-year-old daughter and saying, "Hey, I need you to be strong. Don't be afraid." And I took her and I placed her outside the window, and the window was low enough for her to stand on the ground. And I said, "Listen, your brother is coming, so I want you to make sure you hold on to him so he doesn't be afraid." And I put my 3-year-old son through the window. And by the grace of God, I was able to work my size 8 body through that lower pane of that window only. Where I went to the neighbors and I called a friend, Tanya. I said, "Tanya, I need you to come now. I need you to hurry," because I wanted her to come before he did. She
Hmm.
came and she got me. I told her what happened. And she said, "You have to go to the police station." And I was so afraid. But that was the first time that in all of our years together that I had actually reported the abuse. And I went to our family home and I told my mom, I told my dad, I told his mom, "That's it. I'm not going back." 3 times, that's a strikeout right there. So I'm not gonna go back. But I stayed so long because one, I had a point to prove. Two, because I
You had a
wasn't
point to
saying.
prove to
Yeah,
your
like
family that
yeah,
you
like
can have
yeah,
a good life.
right, right.
Oh,
You understand.
okay.
And then two, I had a point to prove to society. People, not just my family. I'm talking about other people in the community
Hmm.
who were witness to some of the things that happened in my childhood. And these are adult women and adult men. And instead of them seeing a child in crisis and saying, "Let me see how I could support this child," they sat in their families and they talked about me. They talked about a troubled child. They're the people that told me that I'd never be anything. They're the people that told their children not to associate with me. They were also a part of this thing in my head that was like, okay, there's this pressure to be someone and to show that you are someone. And so I had that on me, and I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to be a failure. And so for those reasons, I stayed. Um, but there came a point where it was all too overwhelming for me. And before I left, and I just thought that I would tap out on life. I thought that life wasn't worth living. Um, and I really wanted to die, but I didn't have the courage to try at that particular point in time. But there did come a time when
Mhm.
I made efforts to take my own life because
What were the conditions that was it the combination of all the different things that had happened up to that point in your
yeah,
life?
it was. I'd lost all of my dreams. When I was 8, I had a lot of dreams. I'd lost them. I couldn't even remember them.
Mhm.
It was the feeling of neglect, abandonment, through all of my life, right? Because mother died, and I went from one experience to the next, to the next, to the next, never having anyone to help me sift through those and sort through those and heal from those and navigate some of the rocky roads that life will bring. You
Mhm.
understand? So it was like a culmination of all of these things happening, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't even make sense to live, and it would be better to die. And so I remember very clearly this day. It was a Saturday, and it was a hot day in I think it was July, a Saturday in July, and I just finished cleaning our house, and the bathroom was the last room that I cleaned, and I could see the light glistening off the tiles where I spent all that time with that bleach and scrubbing the tiles in the shower, and I mean it was just glistening. And as I stood in the bathroom, looking at how pristine clean it was, and recognizing that my work day was over, I'd done the whole house, I'd done grocery shopping, everything. I stood in the bathroom and I said to myself, this isn't the life you wanted. How did you get here?
Mhm.
And so I walked out of the bathroom, down the long corridor, into the kitchen, opened the white refrigerator, pulled out the bottle of orange juice, walked back, closed the fridge, walked back down the hallway, entered the bathroom, looked in the medicine cabinet because it had a mirror, looked at myself and felt disgusted at
Mhm.
myself, opened the medicine cabinet, took out a white bottle of tablet, and sat directly in front of the toilet. And as I sat in front of the toilet, I couldn't help but to think that it was so ironic that I would sit in front of the toilet because I had equated my life to nothing but a toilet.
Mhm.
I was swimming in waste, and I was waste was dumped on me all the time. I felt that I was a receptacle for waste just as much as the toilet was. And I just say, wow, look at where you're going to decide to do this. And
Mhm.
so as I go to open the bottle of tablets, like a ray caught my eye, and I looked up. We had recess lighting in the bathroom, and I saw the rays coming down from the light from the bathroom. And in that moment, I remembered God. Because you see, I had shut God off to do some of to live contrary and to exist. I had to shut some parts of that off. And
Mhm.
so I felt that God had abandoned me as well as everybody else. And so I turned my back as well. And so I didn't pray. I didn't go to church. I didn't do any of those things. But in that moment, I remembered that God was with me. And as I sat there in the bathroom, there were a lot of other memories that came back. I remember riding the big yellow church bus, going to church singing I Am a Promise. I remember sitting in my Sunday school classes, and I remember listening to the lessons about Joseph and Noah. And I remembered many sermons where the word of God would be preached, and it would be said that there was a plan and a purpose for my life, and everything would work out for my good. And as I sat there thinking back and remembering all of those promises, I said to myself, God is with you. And I
Mhm.
made the courageous decision to get up off my bathroom floor. I didn't know how I was going to change my life. I didn't know how I was going to make life better for me and my kids,
Mhm.
but I knew that I wanted to, that I had to. I had to change the trajectory of my life to impact theirs. And
So how old were you at the time when this
mm,
happened? How old were you? And you had already left your husband?
I was like 27.
Okay. Still
Yeah,
very young again.
very young. I felt as if I had lived a lifetime
Yeah.
up to that particular point in time. But whew, um, I got up off the bathroom floor, Miranda, and I did not know what I would do differently. I just knew I had to do something. It
Mhm.
is often said, though, that when the student is ready, the
Yeah,
mentor appears.
absolutely.
And
Uh,
so 2 days later, a business executive approached me. I was able to work at this time because I was no longer in my marital home in isolation, not being able to work. Um, and, you know,
So before you go further with that, just for the sake of the audience, tell them why you were kept in
oh,
isolation.
I was too pretty. People would talk to me, they'd want to see me,
In
you
his
know.
mind, this is what
Yeah,
he's saying. This is his reasoning for keeping
yeah.
you locked out.
Yeah. Now,
Ah,
he may have had other reasons unexpressed because I know that he is a great provider.
hmm
His current wife is a housewife and he takes care of everything. So it may also be because he feels it was the manly thing to do, but that was never expressed to me. More of an expression was that I needed to be there. If I would go out, people would talk to me. I was pretty, that type of crap.
So it's just basically insecurity on
And
his part.
control, yes.
Control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're working now, you're raising these kids, and you meet somebody who takes an interest in you to the extent that they see a person that you have not yet met,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
So let's talk about, okay, wait a minute. Before I go on, let me read some of the comments. Okay, Patrice Simonette said he's an on-time God. Monique Burrows says, wow, what an awesome testimony. And Myrna says, my Lord, those promises appeared real to you. Thank God for his divine presence
Yes.
over your life. So an angel,
Yes.
I would say from the Lord, appeared into your life at this point, and right at the brink when you almost gave up. Isn't that amazing how God works,
Amazing.
right? Almost.
Yes.
And you didn't. And shortly thereafter, you met another a defining moment in your life where you meet this person on the job who sees you. Like he actually sees you. The person that when you looked in the mirror, you couldn't see, but he sees through you, he
Yeah.
sees you, and he makes a commitment to you. So let's talk about what that process was like.
Well, let me just tell you, first of all, that when he asked to mentor me, I was in my head like, this dude would have to be joking because I was so accustomed to dudes hitting on me because they just want a little bit of Gucci. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this dude, he don't want to mentor me, child. He just want to enter me, and I ain't into that. That I'm not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, my mind said, girl, you at rock bottom. What's the worst thing that could happen? Take a chance. And that was one of the greatest yes that I have ever said in my life. My mentor, I am forever indebted to the development, the 10 years of work and development that my mentor invested in me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see me. I could not see what he saw. So when he started talking about this person, I was confused because I didn't see that. I saw a broken woman. I saw a lost woman. I saw somebody coping, just trying to get by. I didn't see the work ethic that he talked about. I didn't see the potential that he talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But as he and I started to work together, one of the very first things that he had me discover was really who I was. And as he started to ask me who I was, I started to give him labels. Well, this is what I do. This is my career. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. He's like, no, I'm not asking you what you do. I'm not asking you who you're related to. I'm asking you who
Mm-hmm.
you are.
Yeah.
And I couldn't
Absolutely.
answer him. And he said, you know what? It's okay. Because the important thing is to know where you are. And right now, where you are is you don't know who you are. So I'm going to ask you to find out who you want to be. Do some research. Look at some people in the world. Look at people that inspire you and see who you want to be. And I
Mm-hmm.
did exactly that. I looked at people that I looked up to. I saw the qualities, the values, and the virtues. And I was like, oh, That's the type of person that I want to be. When people interact with me, I want them to see transparency. I want them to be able to connect with me so they see someone that's personable. I want them to see someone that has ethics and values and Christian morals. And so I started to identify who I wanted to be. And I wrote a list. And he said, okay, here's the challenge now, because writing it is not enough. Now we have to be it. So everything that you've written on this paper, I need you to start living. I need you to start being. What does it mean to be honest? What does it mean to live in integrity? What does it mean to be personable? Get the definitions, and in every interaction, be intentional about allowing people to see those things in you, because people see us. They don't hear us. They
Mm-hmm.
see us first. So in interactions, you want them to see these virtues without you even having to say it. And
Mm-hmm.
so he helped me to build who I am, my mission, my vision for my life, my core values. And so once we had done that, he started to talk about, well, what do you want to do with your life? I'm like, well, I want to work and make money and take care of my children. So he said, you want to die, and that's all you want to do: work, make money, and take care of your children. And I
Mm-hmm.
had never thought that far. I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, no, there has to be something that you want to do with your life. What do you want to do? And so as he started to probe me, I said, listen, I want to help young people because I know what it feels like to feel abandoned. I know what it feels like to yearn for the love of a mother. I know what it feels like to not have your self-esteem intact. I know what it feels like to just feel like your life is worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help other young people so that they don't go through that experience. And he said, that's pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. That's pain. And that pain can be converted to purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he said, well, what about the other aspects of your life? And I said, well, you know, I don't want any other woman to believe that they have to sit in a situation because of the conditioning of society. I don't want any other woman to sit in a marriage, in a relationship. I don't want any other woman to give up on her dream
Mm-hmm.
because she has been told that dream is impossible because she is a woman. I don't want any other woman to swallow her dream because her family is telling her that she has to do one thing when she has a burning desire to do something else.
So
And
you
so
took
that's
that
why,
pain that pain became your power.
yes,
It came and as I often tell people, you became a product of the product that you
absolutely.
serve now. You became the product of the product. And so this nurturing, I mean, just an amazing journey, but I want to move to some other parts of your story that he saw you, he took you on and began to nurture you and I mean carefully in a structured way.
Yeah,
Someone who wasn't a family member, just somebody who knew that you can be great.
yeah,
And that's what so many people just need, somebody to see them, and to just recognize and identify that you could be great. It doesn't matter what you look like now, but I'm seeing that person that you can become.
yeah,
I think that's the beauty of the kind of work that we do. So he's working with you and you're getting secured, you're finding yourself, you're becoming self-aware, and you're getting educated and certified in this, and you're becoming, and
yeah,
you're working on becoming all those things that
yeah.
you listed on that paper, and finding yourself. What was the process like? Because we talked about the things that you did, but what was that process like for you?
It wasn't easy. It
Hmm.
wasn't easy, but to have a different life, I realized that I had to make different decisions. Because before him, I was on this hamster wheel and I was just spinning and spinning and spinning. So I had a choice to make. Do I want to continue spinning, or do I want to jump off that wheel and learn how to do things differently?
Hmm.
And I wanted something better for my children and for my life. In that very first year of mentorship, my mentor had me leave every friend that I had at the time, every single friend.
Oh, wait a minute. Did he have you leave every friend, or as you began to discover who you were, you decided I need to leave these friends?
Well, as we started to build that list of values
Mm,
and build the person that I wanted to be, his mode of mentoring was asking questions,
mm,
right? So if you're becoming this person, does this other person align with that?
right.
As you are becoming, are those people also becoming? Are they going along the journey, or will they be distracting you from the journey or detracting from the journey?
Mhm.
And he made a recommendation that I didn't have to follow.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
saw where I need to. So
yeah,
in other words, like I said, you were getting your power. So
yeah,
you made the decision, you know what? Tom isn't had it. He's not in alignment with where
right.
I'm going. He on this path to destiny, he has no place here. And so you made, because you were becoming more and more empowered, the more
Yeah,
you, and it starts with the self-awareness. The more you begin to know yourself and see yourself, you recognize, you know what? Nah.
yeah. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy, not just not easy from the perspective of not having those friends as crutches, right? Familiarity. But it was also that they didn't understand, and maybe frankly, quite rightly so. And
Mhm.
so, they started talking about me. I think I better than people because I grow in and I doing this, and I think I better. But it wasn't a matter of me being better than anyone. It was a matter of me growing into more.
Sure.
And sometimes when we grow, we have to release the things that are going to stagnate us, and they're going to pull us back into those holes and those valleys. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to go back in the valley. So I preferred to let them say whatever they wanted to say about my growth and my development, and to continue on that path, because that future that I wanted, that
Mhm.
was dangling in front of me, meant more to me than just going back into those comfort zones.
Yeah, you actually had a vision for the
Yeah,
first time in your life, actually,
yeah,
about what your life could be.
yeah,
And you wanted to make sure that I need to see this vision come to pass. And so,
yeah.
whatever it takes, whatever sacrifices I need to make, I see something. You don't see it, they don't see it, but you see it. That's just a wonderful thing. Let's talk now and shift to after the process of you changing and having to release and shed some skin and finding yourself and all that stuff and being certified in all these different areas before you became the coach, speaker, trainer, author, all those kinds of things. Just an amazing journey that you've
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
You're doing these things, and you see yourself changing. Now, who are you seeing emerge? As
In
you look
me,
at yourself, who are you seeing emerge? Yeah.
I'm seeing a more liberated woman. I'm seeing somebody that is authentic in her desire to live a life that is truly one that she envisions for herself. That is not being restricted by peers or family or by society, by anyone, but
Mhm.
just really somebody that believes in making a difference in the world and doing it in respectful ways, believing in the dream that's inside of her to build community in the world and to help humanity return to the world, regardless of what anybody thinks or says. It's like, I don't care. What I do care about is the fact that God has placed inside of me a dream and a vision to make a difference.
Mhm.
My responsibility is to Him and Him alone. Um, you know, I used to be the type of person that wanted to be accepted, that wanted to be liked, that wanted to be a part of something, and that's why I made so many bad decisions when I was younger. That
Mhm.
person doesn't exist anymore. I'm okay on the journey of becoming all that I've been purposed to be,
Mhm.
and walking that road with fewer people, but making a greater impact to many
Mhm.
more people.
That's awesome. You started a youth organization.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What the why? Because I always like to understand that. Why did you start it, and what is the work that you do?
Okay.
Yeah.
I started that youth organization because I know firsthand what it is to be a young person that is not validated, affirmed, or nurtured. I know what it is to be a young person not asked about your dreams, not guided toward anything, not guided towards having hobbies. Like I know what I miss, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that I can't be the only person that missed those things in their lives. And so I started the youth organization to give a safe space to other young people, to young people in the world today who are living in homes where their parents are working two jobs, or they're not as available because they're busy providing, to give the opportunity to young people that live in communities where um, they want more, but the more that they want isn't available to them there. I want to give the opportunity to the child that has lost her mother, or the boy that has no connection with his father. I want to give them a safe space to come into, to share,
Mm-hmm.
because it's amazing what just listening will do. So not only do we give them a safe space to share from their perspective, and to hear what they're going through, and I can tell you at the end of every session, my team is so moved by what those children share, what they open up and release, and what we're able to help with. So we give them that safe space, but we also teach them fun lessons on how to build their self esteem, how to build their self value,
Mm-hmm.
how to make good personal choices and build great character. We do vision board planning, we do goal setting parties, we do a my daddy and me daddy daughter dinner night, we do a man up etiquette session for boys, teaching them about the transition from boy to man and how to clean certain parts and what to do when those parts get hard and you don't know what. And so we bring in guys to on our team to help with those discussions. And so our whole vision is to develop wholesome citizens that will continue to contribute to our country, because children just want to be seen. They just want to be accepted. That's why they go to gangs. That's why they go in tribes where people accept them but misdirect them. So we
Mm-hmm.
want to give them that sense of belonging
What's
in
the
our.
age, the age group that you target in that, and tell people how they can get involved in that, or they can get their kids to connect with you.
Awesome. And so it's called Transition Mentorship Program. We're here on Facebook. And so you can look up our page, Transition Mentorship Program, to see all the work that we've been up to. We deal with children from 8 years old to 18,
Okay.
but they're not all in the same setting.
Right.
So we would have, 8 to 10. We'll have 11 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have 15 to 18. And
Groups it.
so we have them grouped according to the ages so that they're all not just commingling. Because the lessons are different depending on the age
Sure, the age
category.
group.
Yeah.
So
And
I.
we do all of these things free of charge. We get sponsors, we get partners from corporate Bahamas to help us pull off these functions and events so that those who don't have financial resources still have access.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Renee Wicklund says, glad that she's giving back what she received. Imagine if we could, oh my eyes. Imagine if we could all do this. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Imagine if
Renee.
we could all do this. Keep the blessings moving forward. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Joba says awesome. Monique says awesome. So that's what you do as far as the youth are concerned. Let's talk about the women.
Oh yes,
And
I'm so
what do
passionate
you
about
do for
them.
those women? Yeah, let's talk about your program and what you're doing for women.
So I run a number of programs for women. I started off with the Power of Her. It's an annual conference, that we're full day conference that we've been hosting for the last 4 years. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. It shut
Mhm,
down like a week before the actual conference. But at this event, we have people come in, and we have breakout sessions. We have the VIP session with a breakout session, a general room session, and we nurture and we feed these women. We give them illustrations of other women who have overcome, who have
mhm,
gone through limitations, and who have gone on to live their dreams. We show them through the testimonies and the lessons of other women that it
mhm,
is possible. We've had amazing women like Janet Bostwick come through. She was our Lifetime Legacy Award winner last year. We have community. We give awards as well. So we had last year, year before last, we had Melissa Major as our cancer advocate honoree. We've just had so many women that give to the community, but are not really rewarded for the work that they do. We bring them in and we give them awards for the work that they do as well. But that's just the power of her, and that's just one avenue that we use. I mean, it's just an amazing conference. It's also on Facebook. You can take a look at the videos. The room is just a transformative room. It's a positive environment. I mean, I've never seen this in my life. Women just come in and it's like a sisterhood forms the minute you walk in the door.
Mhm.
Pure positivity and support. So that's the power of her. And then I also run some coaching programs. Sisters Stand Up Again is a book I wrote. It's a book about women reclaiming their power. And so I actually do a 6-week coaching course to help women accept responsibility for their lives, create their goal plan, to understand the power of forgiveness. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't forgive and release the
Mhm.
people because they had me shackled to my past, right? And so through Sister Stand Up Again, then we have the Evolving Woman. I do the magazine. Again, the magazine is a free publication. We send it out to women. It's inspiring. It's about motivation. And I do annual retreats just for women as well. We go to Long Island. The last 3 retreats have been in Long Island, and the women come in. We're in nature, so we're away from the hustle and bustle of the city. It's the Wi-Fi is available, but very few people use it. The telephones are off. People just sit in the serenity and become refueled and refreshed.
Mhm.
But we do training sessions with the women to help them to become to truly identify what they want to do in life and then create the plan to get there.
Awesome. So you have so many powerful programs going on. How do you juggle it all?
I have wonderful teams. I
Mhm.
would not be able to do the work that I do without the people that support me. I had the vision, yes. The execution required a team. And
Mhm.
so with transition mentorship program, once I had the vision all mapped out, I elicited the support of other people that were interested in youth development, and they helped me build the curriculum, facilitate the classes, mentor the young people. And so I don't do it alone. This would not happen if it was just, I couldn't do it all alone. With Sister Stand Up Again, I have a team of people that work with me. And so they help me to facilitate some of the classes at the retreats as well. So it's
Mhm.
not just me. I share my story, I share my testimony, I share my lessons, but it's not about me.
Sure.
So I don't ever make it about me. There are other people that come and support these initiatives, and give up their resources, their time, their lessons, and help those women as well. I've even had international speakers come in for some of these events as well and share with women, because it's not about building me, it's about building them and truly helping them to see that living an authentic life is the
Mhm.
best life.
Yeah, it's liberating.
Yeah,
It's freedom. It's freedom.
yeah.
What's next? What are the next steps? How do you evolve as a woman? How do you evolve?
Well, right
How are you
now,
evolving?
I stay in personal development. Last year, I had the opportunity to have personal coaching by an amazing a woman who is making awesome strides in the world. The good thing about mentorship is we learn what to do, but we also learn what not to do. And
Mhm.
so it was an amazing experience where I got to learn both. I got to learn a lot of best practices, and I also got to learn some things that when I get to a certain level of success that I would like to avoid doing as well.
Mhm.
So I stayed in personal development. This year, though, I enlisted the support of another team of people, a marketing team actually, to help me stretch my vision. And
Mhm.
so I've rolled out some digital programs with their help so that
Awesome.
it's not all just live. You can actually go to my website,
Mhm.
click. I have one live right now. On July 12th, we're going to be releasing the other digital course. I think it's $27 for a teaser on how to create your success plan. And so I'm working with them to stretch me beyond my comfort zone because my comfort is in person. So
Sure.
I want to now shift that a bit and have things available for people who don't want to show up in person, because some people don't want to be seen getting help. But
Sure.
this way they can have that help in the privacy of their own homes.
Yeah, so it's definitely evolution in
Yes.
practice. Okay, so Joba says it's good. Oh, Joba says this is an amazing show. I love what she's doing. I'm interested in her work.
Thank you.
She loves that you're giving back. And Monique says, this is an amazing platform because most women who want to be free just want to tell their story so that others can be helped. Yeah, and that's why I do what I do. It's liberating. It's cathartic for
Yes.
people to be able to share, and I'm humbled and honored when people trust me with their stories. That's why I do it week after week, and I seek them out, and I thank persons who recommend. When I don't have the inspiration, like who do I go to? Holy Spirit kicks in,
Yes.
and people refer, and that's what I do because it's so much about being able to show people because culturally we've been conditioned that we shouldn't show our weaknesses. We shouldn't let people know our business. They can't see. They should see our flaws, and so we've been walking around in masks, of course, long before coronavirus and all that stuff. We don't open up because culturally that's how we've been
Yes.
conditioned, and we understand that, and that's why I say this is a show where people who are not afraid to show their scars come. I'm open to this because we recognize and we overcome, as the scripture says.
Yes. And our
Through
stories aren't for us.
no, it's always for somebody
Yeah.
else to push them forward, to help them take another step to uncover themselves. So you're doing all of these amazing things and helping women grow and making your contribution to the earth, and I'm excited and I'm happy that you are actually here and taking this time to do so. What do you want to do that you have not yet done yet? Done yet. What is that? Anyway, you understand.
Um, that's a real interesting question. And do you mean from a professional standpoint or personal?
No, just personal. Like, what do you want to do? Because we didn't even. I stopped the story and shifted because my time is running out, and we've been on almost an hour and a half. But yeah, I mean, I didn't delve into a lot of the other things
Yes,
that we had
yes.
discussed. But yeah, like, what do you want to do, or what makes? No, let me reverse the question and say, or rephrase the question. What makes Duquesa happy? Like,
My family.
mm,
I have my kids are they are my joy. And so when I can provide for my family, when I can care for my family, I have a granddaughter. She is my life. When they are happy, when we're together, um, I am at my happiest. I made a pledge that my children would benefit from life, from benefit from my mistakes. They would be more educated than I am. They would have better experiences and better opportunities. And as long as I can provide those for them, I'm extremely happy. Um, I got married last year
awesome.
to an imperfect
Congratulations. Still a
man.
newlywed.
I am.
Still a newlywed.
And one of the things that my life experiences has taught me is that there is no fairy tale and there is no perfect. I see him in his imperfection. He sees me in mine. I accept that there are going to be times when we can't stand each other, but we have such a strong friendship that we revert to friendship even when we have differences. That
Mhm.
makes me happy to see the level at which I've grown. There was a time in my life when I thought that, if someone made a mistake, I had to cut them off. But I've grown to the place where I understand that I learned that and I believe that because of the conditioning of other people. People make mistakes. And it's
Mhm.
in forgiving those mistakes and them learning and growing from those mistakes that you continue on in relationship. And that's how I am in every relationship, whether it be my best friends or my husband and
That's
even my children.
maturation. That's what you call
So
maturation.
that makes me happy. And I love to travel. I love to eat. I can't eat a lot, but I love going to a restaurant and like ordering a bunch of things so that I could sample some of
You know
each.
everything.
Yeah, but that's not often because I cook a lot at home. But whenever we do go out, I just like to order a bunch of things to taste them, even though I know I can't eat them. I have simple pleasures. I'm not an extravagant person. I love to travel. I have a bucket list of places that I want to go.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, that's me.
That's good. Okay, Sharon Russell says, okay, the intricacies of life makes one become aware as we analyze the ups and downs and ins and outs that avails us to overcome challenges that we are faced with and come to the realization that confronts us in life and executing as a result of the experiences that cause us to evolve as a result. Suddenly my eyes are becoming cloudy. I'm going to put my glasses on. Okay, Newton says, what a powerful testimony. God is able.
Yes.
Your story will open doors for other women who might be going through the same situation and don't know their way out. Your life story is a way out.
I
God
love that.
bless you.
Thank
Your
you
life
so much.
story is a way out,
The
isn't that?
way out. Oh, that
Yeah,
gave me goosebumps.
yeah.
Thank
That's
you so
Newton.
much.
That's yeah. That's a man saying that.
Thank
Your life
you.
story is a way out. Pressy says, now that's powerful. Maturity. Paisley says, the spirit of forgiveness. She says she loves you. She loves you.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Paige. Hi, Miss Russell. Thank you guys so much for
Yeah.
being here.
Patience, an
Thank you,
awesome person.
Newton.
So, you know what makes you happy? What makes you sad?
Injustice. It makes me sad to see bullying. I mean, it's just so visible on social media. It makes me sad that we've lost our humanity towards one another. It makes me sad that we're not as community minded as we used to be, and we're not our neighbor's keeper the way that we used to be. It makes me sad that women see other women as competition versus people that they can work together with. I believe if more of us work together, we can have an even greater and larger impact in the world, even if just in our communities. And it saddens me that women, and even, I don't know if men have those issues. So if I exclude men, forgive me. But that women are reluctant to collaborate for fear that it takes something away from them, but collaboration adds to them.
Absolutely.
We're called to teach and touch who we're called to, and nobody can take those people away from us. And so
Mhm.
it makes me sad to realize that we still live in a society where we pull each other down versus help each other rise. Those things make me sad.
I love that. I love putting the spotlight on people and highlighting them. That's what I do. I love it. It is amazing. Thank you, Jerusha. Uh you have a big heart, she says. You have a
Thank
big heart.
you.
God bless you. Joba says you have a big heart.
Thank
So we
you.
know what makes you happy. We know what makes you sad. This is what I'm gonna call my lightning round because we're running out of
Okay.
time. The show goes. It's amazing. So I want to talk now just about just common like favorite food because you said you like to sample different things. But what's your I rather favorite Bahamian dish? Let's go Bahamian.
Favorite Bahamian dish. Well, let me tell you this, and I apologize in advance for if it offends anyone. My husband's friends call me white, that I
Mm-hmm.
cook white because I don't cook traditional
Traditional.
Bahamian food.
Okay.
Like we eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of boiled food, that sort of stuff. So I don't have a true Bahamian dish that I must have. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy fried chicken. I don't eat crawfish and lobster, those sorts of things. So
Okay.
I don't even have a favorite food, like a must have food.
You don't have no messed up.
No.
So then what is ultimately your out of what you cook since you cook non-traditional dishes like what's your go-to meal then? Like what's your go-to?
It would be sauteed cabbage with colored bell peppers and carrots.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it could be with a piece of chicken, a piece of fish, with broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, and a salad.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's your go-to. You have a favorite dessert? Do you eat desserts?
Listen, I had to stop baking because I used to bake as well. But I love red velvet cake. with cheesecake swirls in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That's
yeah.
interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so this doesn't matter if you drink them, because if you like, what would you prefer if somebody offered you a Vitamalt or Goombay Punch?
Gombe. That's a hard one. I don't drink either, but I
That's what I'm
probably
saying.
go with the
It doesn't matter
Gombe.
if you drink them, like, but what would you prefer?
I'd go with the Gombe.
If you okay, and then what would be your okay? Somebody says now, what does being white mean?
I know, right? I get so mad at them. I cooked some pea soup and dumpling the other day, and my husband's friend messaged him back and say, for a white girl, she could cook. I was offended. What do you mean by that? You
Yeah, what is
understand?
the white girl?
What do you mean?
You just cook what you like, and that's
You
okay, whatever
understand?
it is.
And it's healthy.
Right,
So
absolutely. So that's on you. Whatever your palate is, people have different palates and they enjoy different.
yeah,
So
because I
no
mean,
issue there.
white
No
people eat
issue
some of the
there.
same things we do. So I just let it brush off. I don't even pick it up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fine. So we're talking about desserts. Okay, what would be your favorite dessert?
Yeah, it's the red velvet with
It's
the
the red
cheesecake
velvet.
swirl.
That
Yeah.
would be the favorite one. Okay. And finally, because we're right there, if you could do one thing that you currently don't have the power to do, but all of a sudden, psh, I give you power to quest. What would that thing be?
I would use my magic wand and cast a spell over every parent to give them instantaneously the knowledge of what their individual children needs are and how to meet it. Because I think the root of all of our problems stem from the family.
And with that said, we would be living utopia.
Yes.
Perfect. If parents really had a manual of how to treat each child as an individual
Yes.
and nurture their needs, their concerns, their interests, and guide them, oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. That's really good. Dequessa, it has been such a pleasure to have you swerving with me tonight. Thank
Thank
you for
you
your
so much.
transparency. Thank you for your authenticity. The joy that you have exudes, it spills out. It's contagious. I wish you all the best in everything that you do. Everything that you do, because it's coming from a genuine place. It's
Thank
coming from a
you.
genuine place, and that's what really matters. Everybody, Job says thank you so much for doing this show.
Thank you,
Yes,
Miranda. I appreciate you for this opportunity. I appreciate everyone that took time tonight to sit and listen and share and contribute. Thank you all so very much.
you are so welcome. And so, with that, I want to remind you guys that the masterclass begins tomorrow night at 8 inside my Facebook group. If you have registered and you have not yet joined the Facebook group, you need to do that because that's exactly where the masterclass will be taking place. Pray for me, guys, because it's a long week. Every night, Monday through Friday, is so much information to pour into. She said, okay, somebody wants to know your website.
Duquesadean.com and
Okay, so
social
it's the
media,
name,
everything
Dean.
Duquesa Dean. Yes.
Com.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can follow her there, and all the social media spaces and everything that she said. Watch the show again, and you can keep track of all the various programs that she has. And you may have time to volunteer or help out if you're
Yes.
in Nassau where she lives. So thank you so much again. This has just been an awesome time. See you guys tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Masterclass tackling limiting beliefs and self sabotage. Somebody's going to be set free. DeQuesta,
Yes.
thank you and see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.